This is the best villain of 2024. So far, Dementus is the main villain in the Mad Max prequel Furiosa. In a year where villains have been struggling a little bit, is this the savior we've all been waiting for? Welcome back to Villain Review, where I take villains, I analyze them, and give them a score 1 out of 10. What score would I give Dementus? A 7, an 8, maybe even higher? Let's find out.
You took it all from me.
Who do we have here?
The origin and motive of Dementus is one of my favorite things about the character, and in turn, one of my favorite things about the script. For a large majority of the movie, we think he's just a power-hungry Australian, running around looking for as much land and people to conquer as possible. Why? Because power motive, which is normally pretty lame. However, it's not a power motive. It's completely different. They Trojan horse his real motive with a basic one to give him more development as this movie goes on. Dementus is like that annoying girl that flirts with you once and then never acknowledges you again. Not that that's happened to me, because I have a YouTube channel about films, so yeah. Oh yeah. Early in the film, Dementus gives Furiosa this little stuffed bear and says he wants her to hold on to it and that it used to belong to his children. I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna explore this later. We're gonna learn more about his past. And then the movie just says, nope, never mind. Let's just not talk about that. Last week, I dropped one of my most disliked reviews ever. It was on the Scar King from Monkey vs. Lizard Guy 2. And one of the reasons I didn't like him was because the motive is lame. If you're here, Scar King fans, it's still lame. I still don't like it. It's just, let's take over, because that's what villains do. You hear about all these actors who are playing the villains and they say, oh yes, well, in my perspective, I don't actually think they're a villain. Okay, I think they're a good guy. Well, they're a hero from their own perspective. And all the good ones, all it takes is a slight change of perspective to be like, yeah, I kind of get it. Dementus is one of those villains. Scar King, get out of here, Scar King, you suck. Spoilers for the movie, but we don't really learn Dementus' true motive until he meets his demise at the end of the movie. He tells Furiosa they are the walking dead, they're already long gone, and in a way, I kind of get what he's saying. They're people who have lost so much and gone through such horrible things that now they'll go to any extreme to just feel anything. It's the genius part and what I love about Dementus so much. The fact they give us his true motive without spoon-feeding it to you like you're a child. Based on the evidence and the facts, we can infer a lot about what has happened with this guy. He had children, and most of the time you can't do that without significant other, without wife. And since they're not in the movie, unless he married this dude, I'm assuming they're dead. It's not hard to see the loss of his family took such a horrible toll on him, and now he sees himself as nothing without them. He sees himself as already dead. Now he's kind of similar to Baldur from God of War, a man who's really just this hollow shell of a body, doing whatever he can, good or bad, to feel something, to feel alive. To feel like the man he once was when he still had something to live for. And that manifests itself in a lot of different ways. In killing others, in the adoration of his people. It is almost a perfect way to do a power motive. At the end of the day, he wants power, sure, but the reason why he wants it makes this pursuit of power so much more entertaining and, quite frankly, more understandable. Never does the movie try to make you feel bad for him. He's very clearly the bad guy, but we understand by the end why he's doing it. Honestly, it is genius. One of my favorite villain motives in a long time.
Ladies and gentlemen!
Dementus isn't just a good motive though, okay? The actual qualities of his character are pretty great. It seems right now we're in this post-MCU era where a lot of these big actors are finding their big, first hits after Marvel, most of the time playing villains, and I think this is 1000% that role for Chris Hemsworth. The guy is having so much fun in this role, and it's extremely obvious. And I get it, dude, it looks like a fun role to play. He gets to be crazy and scary and even strangely funny at times. And it never comes across as over the top because the performance is legit awesome, but secondly, because for the character, it stems from a very natural place. He's being loud and crazy and all this stuff as another attempt to feel things. Because in order for him to feel life, he has to live life very big and extreme. There's two big things I want to touch on here. One is his relationship with Furiosa while she's young. It's pretty obvious to me that his intention with Furiosa as a child, is to be kind of this surrogate daughter for his own kids. Kind of like a Joel and Ellie, let me replace my dead daughter kind of situation. In the beginning, yes, he just wants her for this land of abundance she comes from. But after that, he still keeps her around. And he doesn't just treat her as another one of his followers. He even claims her as his daughter in this meeting with Immortan Joe, coming up with a whole backstory and everything. And he gives her the name Little Dementus. He names her after himself. It's another peek into the mind of Dementus, because I think he's pretty genuine here. The dude looks actually pretty sad when he has to give her up, and he goes through a lot to save her when Immortan Joe starts attacking the first time. Again, he's willing to do, whatever it is, bad, kills Furiosa's mom, if it means he gets to feel something again, showing this really selfish aspect of the character. It's like when you're playing an open world game like Skyrim and you beat all the missions, you do everything, you steal all the sweet rolls, so then you just start killing as many people as possible. Because why? You just want to do anything you can to feel some, resemblance of playing the game and having fun. Combat. The next moment I want to touch on is when he captures Furiosa and Jack. He has this moment of scolding them for having hope, showing not only has he committed 100% to his ideology, but he resents anyone that tries to do the opposite, that tries to actually live life in a way that's fair and full of hope. Were he to admit that's a viable option, he'd have to acknowledge all of the horrible things he does, and for Dementus, I think that pill is a bit too big to swallow. The good thing about the way he acts is that it's damn entertaining, maybe because it's a wasteland, but he feels like a character that could be pulled straight out of Borderlands. He's crazy, unpredictable. Chris Hemsworth is tremendous here, but one thing I didn't expect is how absolutely brutal this guy can be.
That wasn't hope, that was instinct.
Something I will always celebrate is Christmas, and also when movies give villains tons of screen time. Too many times villains in film feel like that weird forgotten child that's like, oh yeah, them. Dementus has tons of screen time here. If you take into account the first hour and change of the movie, I'd be curious to see if Chris Hemsworth gets at all close to passing Anya Taylor-Joy in screen time. And that'd be crazy. The first act of the movie is a lot of setup, and I think Dementus plays a huge part in balancing out Furiosa's subdued role. She's there, she's not talking much, she's tied up most of the time, so if it weren't for Dementus, it might be a little bit slow. I touched on it a little bit earlier, but this guy is legit messed up in the head. Something's wrong with him. We see him torture and kill people at different points in the movie, and it's brutal. They do this like Genghis Khan thing. I think it was Genghis Khan that did it, where they like pull a guy apart, his limbs with their bikes. Genghis Khan didn't do it with bikes though. He did something else. It is crazy, but I think even crazier is the way he kills Jack. It starts out as torture, and you're like, dang, that really sucks. They're just gonna make him run forever. And then you think about it, and you're like, man, you like envision yourself doing it. That's how I was, at least. You literally just have to run forever until you die, and then you just fall and you get dragged in the dirt until death, and there's dogs chomping at you, chomping at your ankle, chomping at it. Crazy, insane. Low-key one of the worst deaths I think I've seen in years in a movie. It's not like gory, but like just thinking about it. The rest of his scenes are also pretty damn good. The performance has so much screen presence. Whenever you're expecting he might be somewhere near in the frame, you're examining the whole entire thing, every single inch of the frame to find it. He's this big and loud counter to the quieter and more focused Furiosa. The scene where he plans that ambush on the bullet farm is also really good. It just keeps going. It feels like the best level in your favorite video game. It's so good. But I gotta talk about the ending of the film, the final interaction between these two characters. Obviously, we learn all this stuff about his motive, which is great, but also how it relates to Furiosa as well. Dementus tells her that this mission of vengeance is similar to what he does. Near thoughtless action in an attempt to feel something, and I think in a way, he's right. He might have been this good guy that was turned into a monster by the wasteland. And like every movie or story about vengeance pretty much tells us, this path Furiosa is going down doesn't really lead anywhere good. It's actually a really good connection to Fury Road, and why showing the intro at the end is more than just a fun scene to connect the films, like a certain Darth Vader Rogue One scene. It shows Furiosa still has hope. She's still holding out to do something good and to save the women Immortan Joe has captured. She's not like Dementus because she still has something to live for, not just getting back home, but putting some hope back into a world where it's all but forgotten. A really important scene that is masterfully crafted. Chris Hemsworth, Anya Taylor-Joy, everyone involved absolutely crushes this. One of my favorite scenes, if not my favorite scene of the year. Dementus is an awesome villain, one of the best power motives I've seen in a long time, and Chris Hemsworth, the dude makes him fun and scary and crazy, and by the end, pretty interesting. See, what if the next Mad Max film is a Dementus prequel, and then we just keep going back from there, and we keep going, Organic Mechanic prequel? I'm gonna give Dementus an 8.5.
I will take this girl. Otherwise, it's war.
Deal.
Thank you so much for watching new villain reviews all the time. Hit subscribe. I'm gonna make a few more Furiosa videos this week, a tier list perhaps, more thoughts on the movie. It was my most anticipated of the year. Hit subscribe. I'll talk to you later.